Hey everyone, welcome back to episode 101 of the Guardian Project podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Andy, and I don't have an Everything Tribal deck, but if I did, it would be an Elemental Masterpiece.
Oh, that's pretty good. I like that.
Yeah, thank you.
And I am your other host, Mike Coyle, and I don't know if you know this, Andy, but Mirage Mirror is up to like $8 a copy, and it's trending upwards. And I think that really shows that Commander really is only a reflection of its former self.
Please listen carefully.
That was a good one, too. It's true. It's true. And that is a great card. That is a great card. And this is the podcast where we talk about all things Magic the Gathering.
But mostly Commander.
So this past week, you and I got to stream with Elder Dragon Skypelander.
Lander.
Yeah, and I got to play for the first time one of my new decks, Rionia Fire Dancer, which is an extra combat deck.
Yeah.
And it's like the Narset Enlightened Master that I always wanted without it being disgusting, and taking 14 turns. Instead, I'm just going to finish it all in one combat.
Yeah, and steal everyone's creatures at the same time.
Yeah, so I learned how Coercive Recruiter worked this past week. I did not realize that it was as good as it is. So Coercive Recruiter says whenever it or another pirate enters the battlefield under your control, gain control of target creature until end of turn. Untap it, it gains haste, and then just also becomes a pirate. Not that that's relevant. But what I didn't realize was that with Rionia, it says make one minimum of the token, but then you make one plus the number of instants or sorceries you cast that turn. So if you make two Coercive Recruiters, they each see each other, and then the original Coercive Recruiter sees it. So you get 6 steals of creatures. I had no idea that
it is better.
That was what it did.
Better than Zealous Conscripts. The only thing Zealous Conscripts has going for it over a Coercive Recruiter is that it has haste, and that's it. So
I thought I was just getting more Zealous Conscripts, I'll be honest.
I assume you also run Zealous Conscripts in that deck.
I absolutely also run Zealous Conscripts.
Okay.
I just thought I was only stealing one creature, and Coyle goes, no, you're going to steal 6.
Well, until we saw
that was cool.
That very interesting reaction with Amoeboid Changeling to make it so that they weren't pirates anymore, but then they still see themselves enter the battlefield as a Coercive Recruiter, so they can still steal a couple things.
Then when you take another combat, you'd make a few more, and it's totally cool.
And then we lost. And then I got to stream with CNC Power Hour on Sunday, which was a lot of fun. We played $50 upgraded precons from Strixhaven. I got to play Lorehold and do some graveyard shenanigans, and I was targeted pretty early, probably rightfully so. I think I got Mesmeric Orb on the battlefield on turn 3, and then 2 Mesmeric Orbs by turn 5 or something like that.
And which you said Osgir was the deck you upgraded?
Yes, so I played Osgir. Okay. We had the option of switching out the face commander for another face commander within the deck, or the Elder Dragon. So I know Krim, the Asian Avenger, was also part of our group, the other guest on CNC Power Hour, alongside Chris and Clay, who are the hosts of CNC Power Hour. And Krim got to play Shadrix as his commander, so that was really cool to see. Him and I were making deals pretty much throughout the entire game, and it was a ton of fun. It was so much fun. I tuned in at one point, and I saw Krim had a bunch of tap zombies, and he asked, I heard it was like, I'm more afraid of your double Mesmeric Orbs. And all I heard you say was, well, I can get rid of them at the end of Chris's turn, so you don't have to deal with them. And I was like, oh boy, they're in for this is a wild game. Yeah. No, but it was tons and tons of fun, tons of deals, just going side to side. And then I forgot to swing at a Planeswalker, and it ultimated, and that was our demise.
And that was your demise. Nice. Well, we have another deck building competition through Archdeck this month. For the month of May, they are doing a contest to build a deck that brews around the manipulation of other players at the table. So it says, this month, let our opponents get their hands dirty. Brew an EDH Commander legal deck list that aims to win through the manipulation of other players at the table. Its measures may be obvious, such as buffing one player's creatures as they attack another, or more subtle, such as presenting opponents with a tempting offer designed to further your agenda. Either way, these machinations should be a significant focus of your deck. So to participate, you brew a legal EDH commander deck on Archdeck that satisfies the prompt. Any unreleased cards spoiled during the contest duration are allowed, and silver border cards, while cool, are not allowed. And you just have to submit it by Friday, May 21st. You have to reply to the announcement tweet from the @Archdeck account on Twitter with a link to your deck before 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And on Saturday, May 22nd, they're going to tweet out a poll with the top winner, the top finalists, and then they're going to pick some winners. So, Coyle, you're actually doing this one, right? What are you submitting for this?
Yeah, so there was a little bit of refinement in the rules, where at least people ask questions. Can you use a deck that already exists, or does it have to be a brand new one? They said, obviously, you can use a deck that you have already built as long as it's on Archdeck. You have to build the deck on the Archdeck website. And I already have a deck that kind of does this. So I have a Curses and Auras deck that is my Kydel and Arden with a Karuga companion. So that one focuses on, again, putting goad enchantments on your opponent's creatures, putting some of the curses on your opponents to incentivize people to swing at your opponents rather than you. It does end up, everyone ends up swinging at me as soon as I put down a Sphinx's tutelage on the battlefield, but that's okay. that happens. But yeah, so I already have a deck for this, so I plan on submitting that. And actually, if you are a patron, then you'll be able to see a video, a deck tech for that deck at the end of the month. So it's very convenient that I'm already working on that deck tech video, and I get to submit it as my Architect submission.
Nice. Well, we love Architect. If you aren't using a deck building website, we highly suggest you check it out. And if you are already using Architect, submit this for Friday.
Yeah. And this past Saturday, we actually had a really small impromptu stream. It was Saturday, right? I'm not misremembering.
Friday.
It was Friday. Last Friday, we had an impromptu stream where we hit 1,000 followers on Twitter. And it was suggested to us that maybe we should, in honor of our Halloween candy episode, we should both eat a payday on stream.
And by suggested to us, I actually said, Coyle, you should eat a payday. And then Coyle tweeted out that we would both live stream eating a payday, and I got roped into that crap.
That's right.
I had to eat a payday. Now, during the stream, we didn't ask me anything. We had a lot of people jump in and just chat with us and say hi, and congratulations on 100 episodes, and congratulations on 1,000 followers on Twitter, and thank you everybody who is following us. But Coyle, what did you learn about paydays on that stream?
They're not that bad. I actually kind of like. It's not not my go-to candy bar by any means, but it's like, yeah, I could choke one down.
I would say we both were pretty open-minded about it.
Yeah. We learned.
I would say I still don't really like them.
Sure.
That's where I'm going to stay. I probably ate a quarter of it. Now, I also, Coyle, stopped at the store to get 2 paydays on the way over to record and decided to buy king size.
That's all they had.
It's all they had. So I ate about a quarter of that candy bar, and then I, made Coyle eat it afterwards.
No, I ate the whole thing, and it wasn't that bad. Like, the one thing that I didn't realize is it was a caramel nougat, not just caramel in the middle, and that, I think, is what made it so that it was a lot better for me. It was a lot sweeter in the middle than I expected. So
yeah. It was a lot of fun, and we got to see a lot of people. It's been weird not streaming every single Thursday.
It sure has. Well, maybe we can bring it back.
Maybe. Also, we have in-store play returning on May 28th here in the U.S., and that comes alongside a couple of benefits. So one is giving a Fabled Passage to each customer who spends $50 or more on sealed Magic product. So this is going to be happening soon, beginning on June 18th. So if you are looking for a Fabled Passage, which is just a fantastic land, it is in a foil retro frame. It is limit 1 per customer. There is also going to be 5 different foil retro frame promos that are happening. So this is from the WPN announcement that while play begins to ramp back up in stores, part 2 of the promotion is going to continue to build the excitement with a play promotion that keeps customers engaged. They're going to have more specific details to share soon, but players can participate in an in-store event once the promotion starts, and you give someone one of the 5 foil retro frame promo cards. Limit 1 per day and basically up to 5. So we can get one of each of these promos. And then lastly, stores are going to be able to run Mystery Booster Convention Edition drafts. So stores are going to be allocated some of these. On May 28th, they are going to lock in their allocations, and these are meant for drafts and not for resale. So, Coyle, we may actually be able to play the Mystery Booster Convention Edition, which we missed out on just before quarantine.
Yeah, that's very cool. Although, I'll be honest, I am most looking forward to the Modern Horizons 2 sealed play than anything else.
It's coming up. That's coming up too.
Yeah. So other news from Wizards of the Coast is the news about esports and the transition of what esports is doing. You know, we're going back to some paper play as we transition, hopefully, out of quarantine here. Hopefully we don't have like a quarantine round 3 or anything come out of this. But transitioning. But transitioning to this new focus on esports. And I think, Andy, you have a little bit better of a grasp on this than me. So
So the article says that we are going back to the gathering, and that in-person play is unique strength for Magic, and they need to lean into that. Digital play is here to stay, but it's really only part of the equation, and that accessibility is important, which means broader access to play. And they're looking at everything from local events and the success of Command Fests to creating even more levels of play that are open to a broader swath of players, and that they're looking for real, some flexibility here. So it sounds like for the 2021 and 2022 season, they are going to leave the existing set championship structure in place, and that they're increasing the prize pool support for that. League weekends and Gauntlet will not be returning in the 2021-22 year, or I guess for that season. They're not going to play those out, and this will actually be the final season for the Magic Pro and Rivals leagues. Players will not be competing for another league season. Instead, they are going to be competing for a place in the World Championship. So there's a lot changing here, and they said that they aim to return to in-person play as soon and safely as possible, and they're hoping it's sooner rather than later. So we will see what happens. But they said they're looking for something that feels more familiar and features something that we've all been missing, which is sitting across from someone playing Magic.
Speaking of something that kind of felt missing, at least a little bit, we have a new patron, someone that we've been friends with and talking to for such a long time. Now in our tight-knit patron family, we want to thank you and say welcome to Nick Martin.
Welcome. Your part of the project is due on Wednesday. I know it's only 2 days from now. But if you're listening to this, I guess you can have till next Wednesday.
Yeah.
So please cite your sources. 1 week. Please cite your sources.
APA format or?
APA is fine. MLA I didn't do in college, so I understand APA, never Chicago style.
No, except for popcorn and pizza.
Not pizza, popcorn, yes.
Okay.
Chicago style popcorn, for those that aren't familiar, is a combination of cheese and caramel popcorn. And then what you really do to make someone frustrated is you open the bag and you eat all the cheese popcorn, because caramel corn is terrible.
It's so the process is so painstaking. I don't even know how it's worth it. I really don't.
You shake the bag quite a bit. You keep pulling from the bottom to the top, and then you're left with a bag of caramel corn that you can just throw away. And instead, buy cheese corn. No, I'm kidding. What I'd really like for it to be is like 2/3 cheese and 1/3 caramel. Not 50-50, which is what it usually ends up being.
Okay. You don't like the triple tins that have butter, cheese, and caramel popcorn?
I eat the butter and the cheese. I'm not a monster, and I take that cardboard separator out and mix them. Absolutely not. But I'd rather just have the cheese. I don't know. The butter's not very salty, and if I want popcorn salty, I want it salty.
That's true. You're a movie theater popcorn aficionado.
I am. But back to our new patron supporter. If you would like to hear us rant and rave all the time in our Discord, we do have a Patreon lounge there. And if you want to support us, you can head to patreon.com/theguardianprojectpod and donate for any dollar amount. We appreciate everything that you do to help support our streams and our content.
Yeah, and other ways you can support the podcast, whatever you are listening to the podcast on now. If you could follow, like, subscribe. If you are watching or listening on YouTube, you can hit that bell icon for any of our new uploads. You'll be notified right away. And you can leave some comments in the comments section. We love interacting in the comments. Tell us when we have bad plays or misspeak on things. And tell us when we're wrong. We love it.
You know where I like to interact? In the video.
Oh, that's true. Like you want to like say something in the video, and it's like, and to you, that's writing the comment down there right now. I know you are.
Exactly. After you say something silly that you did, and you're like, yeah, all right, you can call me out on it in the comment section. It's fine. I totally get it. Coyle, what do we have on the agenda this week?
This week, we're actually going to start a brand new series. We are going to dive into different sets in Magic's history, and we are going to break it down and determine what the set gave us for the command zone and what the set gave us for the 99 or the 98 in the case of partners. And so we're going to look at all the legendary creatures and cards that are going to fit in the 99. And this week we're going to start with what a lot of people believe is like the real transition into a commander-focused game of Magic the Gathering, and that's Dominaria.
All right. Well, I think it's time for us to get analytical. Dominaria. Feels like it was so long ago, but it really wasn't. It's about 2 years old now. It came out in 2018, I guess. Depending on the time, it could be almost 3 years now. And this is actually the first set that we got that was no longer part of the block model. So this is actually the first of the single standalone sets. And where they started to take a major turn towards designing towards Commander. And really excited to talk about the set. So this set had a couple of mechanics that returned, a couple of new mechanics. So this is the first set to feature the enchantment subtype sagas. So we got to see sagas, which I love. Yeah, cool. Kicker returned. Hexproof from debuted in this set, which is also already gone because we now have Ward.
Oh, very true.
Equip creature variants of equipment also debuted here. So we had Blackblade Reforge that had equip legendary creature or equip any creature that's not legendary. We had Historic Matters, and the first time we got to see legendary sorceries, where you had to have a legendary permanent to be able to cast it.
No, actually, the Historic Matters, I mean, the term historic was also coined in this set.
Sagas, artifacts, and legendaries.
Right. So that was, kind of a brand new thing. And we saw, the most legendary creatures we've seen from a single set coming from here too. And a lot of, or not a lot, but some of them cared about these legendary matters and stuff. And like you said, legendary sorceries requiring to have a legendary creature or planeswalker on the battlefield in order to cast them. So we already knew going into this with all of the sets and the mechanics that it was definitely going to be a legendary creature based set, which is perfect for us Commander players.
Right. Exactly. So we're going to start breaking down these things to determine whether or not this set, we think, provides more for the command zone or more for the 99.
So like Andy and I build decks, let's start with the commander, and then we'll try to we'll look at the command zone, and we'll see what Dominaria brought for us, and I guess for all the other players out there. I guess I should really say more for you with some of the ones we're talking about here. But yeah, let's start with the command zone and talking about legendary creatures. So we have 44 legendary creatures from the set, not including Niambi, which is from the Teferi Planeswalker deck. Is a legendary creature that you can have as your commander, and then you can put Teferi in the 99, and that's pretty much all that's going to happen with Niambi.
Yeah, and this is the Niambi Faithful Healer, not the one from Core 21. So this is the one that can tutor for that, the Teferi Timebender.
Right, so we decided not to include that because it wasn't actually in the Dominaria box set, and it sees very little play. Maybe it's better in the 99.
There's 44 decks. There's 44 decks listed on EDA Track.
They really like the Teferi Planeswalker. That's all I'm saying.
For sure.
So we're going to start with the top 5 commanders from Dominaria that are seeing play. I think number 1 is the commander that I most wanted to build from this set. But seeing it's the number 1, and if you know my deck building style, I don't like to build popular things. which is what kept me from doing it. So Muldrotha the Gravetide. This is a Sultai elemental avatar. Has 6 power, 6 toughness. Cost is 3, black, a green, and a blue. That has the ability, during each of your turns, you may play a land and cast a permanent spell of each permanent type from your graveyard. So this is a Sultai Graveyard Matters. There's 4,751 decks, and there isn't really a stipulation here on how you build this commander, and that has to be why it's so popular. I mean, people love graveyard stuff, but the fact that Muldrotha could be your energy commander, because it really only matters that you keep recurring some of these permanents that are going to accumulate value for you. The most obvious answer is Reanimator. The only thing you're not doing in a Muldrotha deck is spell slinging, because you really want to focus on permanents.
Yeah, the top 5 themes for Muldrotha are Sacrifice, Graveyard, Pod, which is sacrificing something to get something different, Mill, and then Lands. So you can play Muldrotha lots of different ways. It's actually, of all commanders based on EDH Rec, is the number 5 ranked commander of all time. So not surprised to see this one listed as number 1 here. And as we talk about these, we're going to talk about whether or not we played that deck. And I did also not build Muldrotha for the reason that you didn't build it. I don't know why I feel like I want to be a hipster and play decks that are less popular than others, but I feel that way sometimes.
Always.
But it's not always the case. Well, what was that?
For me, it is. For me, it's literally always the case.
Yeah, for me, I would say it's not always, but I did play Muldrotha for our Boxing League series on YouTube. So that was where I opened up a box and I had to make a commander based on what I opened. I did open Muldrotha. I opened Darigaz as well, the dragon from Dominaria, which is also 3 colors. I thought Muldrotha would be much better, so I played it there. It can do some nasty things, and I do like self-mill, and I do like playing lands from my. I mean, you have 2 hands, so this is a deck you want to come packed full of graveyard hate for.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this warped formats to have to care about graveyards, and there's even a few combos and stuff you can do with it. I know there's an enchantment called Second Chance. It says if you have 5 or less life, you can sacrifice it and take an extra turn after this one, and you could just keep recurring it every single turn. You have to get yourself down to 5, but Necropotence is a pretty easy way to get there.
Interesting. Never played it that way, and after the Boxing League, I took it apart, but I do have the etched foil, and I like it a lot. The second commander here, Joyer Weatherlight Captain. So this is a 3/3 human artificer for 2, a blue, and a red that says when you cast a historic spell, draw a card. So artifacts, legendaries, and sagas are historic. There are 2,402 Joyer decks listed on EDH Rec. It's mostly an artifact deck, but really works for all historic cards. I remember when Arena had the cube that you could draft, and it was I forget what was it, the Tinkerer's Cube? It might be that one. I would just draft Joyra Historic, and I love that. But in Commander, it is a very potent deck where you just play and loop a bunch of artifacts and essentially storm off or, loop something until your opponents all die. Maybe an Aetherflux Reservoir. Who knows?
It kind of reminds me, there was a standard deck going around in the Kaladesh era with SRAM, and it was eggs with Paradoxical Outcome. Yeah, to return all the artifacts you control to your hand, and then you get to draw a card for each artifact returned this way, and then all of the reason it's called eggs is because the artifacts cost 0 mana, and 0 looks like an egg. And yeah, I mean, that's what Joy was trying to do. You put down cost reduction for artifacts that you don't have to pay any mana to do it. We actually have a friend that built this deck, and he's really into building budget decks, and you could build this budget so easily. Artifact cost reducers are like 25 cents unless you're talking about expensive ones like Semblance, Anvil, and stuff. But the reason those particular cards are expensive is because they can do anything. Semblance, Anvil. Semblance Anvil, if you don't know, has imprint, and you imprint a permanent, and then that permanence of that type cost 2 less to cast. But you can play Scrapyard or Foundry Inspector to reduce your artifacts, and that's cheap. It's been printed 1,200 times. So really, you're
1,200 times.
1,200 times. So really, your win conditions are the expensive parts, but you can storm off again with Aetherflux Reservoir. It's probably $10 to $20 card right now, but Grape Shot you can pick up pretty cheaply if you can actually able to get that storm count that high. Very, very strong. You can again build it friendly. But most people don't, and they just go for the storm win.
A lot of the new cards I'm looking at here, Bergi, God of Storytelling. When you cast a spell, add red to your mana pool. Oh, that just seems so good.
Oh yeah, and then you can discard on the other side of Bergi, right? You can discard some stuff and
to exile the top 2 cards of your library, and you may play those cards this turn.
Even more.
Yeah, really, really strong commander.
All right, so the next commander we have on here is maybe what more people would think as the traditional Dominaria commander, and that's Tatyova, Benethik Druid. So Tatyova is 3 green and a blue. You get a Merfolk Druid 3/3. This is whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life and draw a card. There's 2,206 of these decks, and this is just it's a Simic card that's really good.
It's the number 1 Simic commander listed on EDHREC. I think this is when people started to feel that Simic was a little busted in standard, and it stayed that way for a while. Just Simic doing Simic things, and then even in Commander, you're like, oh, you're playing Simic, you can do everything that every other color can do. And Tatyova is so strong. I almost never see it though, which is so funny. I think people did the thing and then maybe took them apart, but I see it in the 99 of a lot of decks.
Oh yeah, it's definitely,
which I think is really interesting that I'm not seeing it in the command zone as much.
And it might just be because there are better commanders that you can stick in the command zone. I know from Commander Legends, from one of the face commanders from the commander decks, there is Icy Tyrant of the Gyre Strait, which costs 1 more mana. 1 more colorless mana than Tatyova. Mm-hmm. You get 2 more power, 2 more toughness. You get to play an additional land. You're still drawing a card. You're just not gaining the life anymore. So,
right.
And it's just, we've seen Simic pushed so far. But the fact that you can just play an Evolving Wilds and draw 2 cards from it just makes Tatyova so strong, where you are going to play it in the 99 if you can. Even if you're not a land-based deck, it doesn't matter. It's just really good value.
Yeah, and if you're running cards that just give you extra land drops on your turn, you're probably going to, fare pretty well. Exploration to play extra lands on your turns. Titania, having things go to the graveyard and coming back. Azusa, allowing you to play 2 extra lands on your turn. I mean, the Tatyova deck is solid, and there isn't even like a specific theme other than lands that you have to play. I mean, the top 5 themes are lands, ramp, landfall, Merfolk, tribal, and bounce. And you can oops all 5 of those in a Tatyova deck.
Yeah, and Tatyova, unlike some of these other commanders stuff, Tatyova is not going to win you the game, no matter what it does. You're not going to be swinging with your 3/3 Tatyova for lethal on people. Tatyova is there to give you extra value, and that's it. And
keep that hand full.
Your other cards are what are going to win. Your Rampaging Baloth is what's going to win you the game. Tatyova is going to increase your life total, make you harder to kill, and fill your hand.
Exactly. The next commander here is another commander that I built. This is Jota, Archmage Eternal. So there are 2,167 Jota decks. It's a 5-color commander that is a 4/3 human wizard. It actually only costs 1, a blue, a red, and a white, but it says flying, and you may pay white, blue, black, red, green rather than pay the cost for spells that you cast. So this is it's really a value deck, right? So your commander is a Fist of Suns. So Fist of Suns is an artifact that costs 3 that says you can pay white, blue, black, red, green rather than paying the mana cost for spells that you cast. And I mean, for 5 you can cast something that costs 11. You can cast something that costs 10. The themes for Jota, the primary themes are big mana, Planeswalkers, Eldrazi Tribal, Legends, and Dragon Tribal. I do have a Planeswalker deck, so I have a Super Friends deck. It had a crazy win rate last year. I remember when we talked about my win rate for my year of EDH, and I actually just brought out Jota Archmage Eternal the other week for the first time, and I would say at least 6 months. And I can actually confirm because I now know all the dates that I've played my games. And I accidentally went infinite with a Teferi Chain Veil, which I had never done before. Conveniently, I had to have someone walk me through it, though. I mean, you did walk me through it. You're like, Andy, you have it. Just look at it on the board. And I didn't see the play. But this deck is nuts. I don't think many people play this anymore either, I'll be honest. It's listed up here as a lot, but I would love to see more Jota decks because you can get really creative with Jota.
Yeah, I think, you do probably see it in the 99 as much as you would a Fist of Suns. They fit in the same color identity and they do the same thing. Jota might be more tutorable depending on how you play your deck, but I know I ran Jota in the 99 of my Morophon deck because Morophon makes things cost Wooburg less, and Jota makes things cost Wooburg instead of their normal casting cost. And with those powers combined, my Eldrazi's cost 0 mana, and that was pretty cool. So that's how I tried to abuse Jota and not have him in the command zone. So I'm sure other people are using it as their Fist of Suns too, and maybe they don't want to telegraph a Fist of Suns in the command zone.
Yeah, I mean, it could be. And I realized that probably the strongest card that I play in my Jota deck at this point is Omniscience. So it's just an enchantment that says you can cast spells from your hand without paying their mana cost. It costs 7 blue. So 10 mana is not that difficult to get to when you only have to spend white, blue, black, red, green. You can tutor for 5 cards that you need, which can just be a combo with the card Conflux. It says search your library for a white, blue, black, red, and a green card. Reveal them all, put them into your hand. Really good stuff. And some of the more recent, cards you get to add to Jota, Chromatic Orrery from M21, which says you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color, and it taps for 5 generic. But that's just 5. That's Wooburg for you. You can pay 5 and draw a card for each color among permanents you control, but I think Jota is a really interesting deck. You can do a lot of stuff with. I do personally think that the value or just playing 5 color big spells is just really cool.
Very much so. Yeah, you get to see a bunch of stuff you wouldn't normally. So
you get to see Harness Infinity, and then the next turn someone plays an Emergent Ultimatum, and then the next turn they play Zakama, and you're like, I didn't see that coming. I really did not. I really didn't. Okay, cool.
So you're saying they did not have a Foretold card that only cost 2 to counter a spell because they didn't see it coming?
They did not see it coming.
Okay. All right. So the next commander we're going to talk about is actually another one that Andy had built in the past. I don't think this is together anymore.
had built it.
Yeah, I don't think it's together anymore, but I think that was kind of a recent a thing
that was this year, I believe.
Yeah. So this is Slimefoot the Stowaway. So Slimefoot is a 1 black and a green legendary creature fungus. 2/3. This is whenever a sapperling you control dies, Slimefoot the Stowaway deals 1 damage to each opponent, and you gain 1 life. And you can pay 4 generic mana to create a 1/1 green sapperling creature token. There's 1,495 decks, and this is a uncommon actually from Dominaria, and Tatiova was the other uncommon on this list from Dominaria. And this is aristocrats. This is sapperling aristocrats. This is fungus matters for the people that wanted a good fungus legendary creature. But it also has like that extra caveat of Slimefoot himself or itself, themself still does the damage, so that you can attach infect stuff to Slimefoot or lifelink in order to get even more life gain back from it. There's a lot of interesting things because of that little wording difference on Slimefoot that I think makes this a very popular commander that people want to build.
Exactly. So I think the card is insane. I don't use that often. It's just it does the whole card does its little combo. You can pay 4 to make a sapperling, and then all you really need is a sack outlet. And I've seen Ashnod's Altar with Slimefoot just go berserk. I mean, you sack 2, you make 4, you make another one. And if you have some aristocrats out, you're going to go crazy. You can play it as a combo deck. You can just play it as a value deck. It reminds me a lot of Dina Soul Steeper, or Dina reminds me, I guess, a lot of Slimefoot, because they both have gain life and life loss, or I guess not necessarily life loss, but each opponent takes damage from Slimefoot. So there is, in fact, a difference. I guess you can make an argument whether or not you want to play Dina, but Slimefoot, it really only has 4 themes here: Saprolings, Fungus, Aristocrats, and Sacrifice. So Aristocrats and Sacrifice feel like they're the same, though. I'll be honest.
They are. I think Sacrifice maybe means that you're not necessarily pinging people for the damage. Maybe that means it's a reanimation type of deal. Although I think it would say Reanimator if it was Sacrifice, so maybe not.
You would think so, but it's funny that, so Slimefoot came out, and I think the only other deck that people used to play was Thelon of Havenwood. So it's an elf druid for green that says each fungus gets +1/+1 for each spore counter on it, and you can pay a black and a green to exile a fungus from a graveyard to put a spore counter on each fungus. So you can certainly build the fungus tribal with Thelon. It's just people, I think, started playing Slimefoot because it's the whole package.
Yeah, and the only other one, if you wanted to play Abzan, you could play Gav, a Guru of Spores, but it really didn't care about the fungus, and it cost a little bit too much mana in order to remove the +1/+1 counters, and maybe people were building around the +1/+1 counters more than the Saproling thing. So it was very, very attractive for people looking to do those Saproling decks.
Imagine this. Picture it. Grafted exoskeleton on a Slimefoot. It says equipped creature gets +2/+2 and has infect. So if you can deal 10 damage to your opponents, they lose to infect.
I will say that it's an amazing thing, Andy, and I'm sorry I'm not more excited about it. But I
don't think I ever did it, though. I don't know if I ever really did it. The card was in the deck the whole time. I might have done it once, but I don't remember it. So I don't think I did it, because I think I would have remembered doing that.
Right. And I think I honestly think the same thing, because I remember doing it all the time with Nekusar back when I had that build.
Yes.
Nekusar also deals the damage. So that's kind of where I saw this. And it's like, instead of drawing a card that Nekusar does the damage, it's Aristocrats. You have full control over everything that's happening with Slimefoot. Amazing.
Yeah, I mean, the only other enchantment that I really liked the other aura was Snake Umbra. So whenever this creature deals damage to an opponent, you can draw a card. So if you lost the Saproling, you got to draw 3 cards. That was really good. I had happen quite a few times.
We do see Culling Ritual, get printed here in Strixhaven, which is a shoe-in to go right into this deck, because Slimefoot himself dodges Culling Ritual, doesn't get killed by it, where maybe your Dina actually does die to Culling Ritual.
Dina does die to Culling Ritual, but if you make 14 to 16 mana, which you generally make, it's not really that big of a deal.
Right, you just recast Dina, right?
Exactly. Even the new card Plumb the Forbidden, you can copy the spell for each creature sacrificed this way. So as an additional cost to cast a spell, you may sack 1 or more creatures, draw a card, and lose 1 life. I mean, you can sack all those fungus that way, or all the Saprolings.
Well, and your life total doesn't change, and you did draw a bunch of cards, and all of your opponents get drained.
Exactly. So Slimefoot, really, really strong. Actually, I just want to mention one more here. There's still another commander with over 1,000 decks, Marwyn the Nurturer. So it's an elf druid. This set had so many strong commanders.
Extremely. It's a shame that I don't get to talk about some of the ones that I had built, because they didn't make it into the top. But the promo, the buy box promo, Fire Song and Sunspeaker, I've seen many decks of that. We've seen budget Valduck Keeper of Flame decks that could do really good stuff. I have a Tetsuko Umezawa Fugitive deck. I had a Kazarov deck that's one of the most least built. Yargle was the biggest meme legendary creature from the set, a vanilla 9/3 for 4 and a black.
I used to have Rona, Disciple of Gix, which I took apart just this year as well because it was a little too combo-y. Our good friend Andy Zupke from the Scrap Trawlers has a Traxos Scourge of Krug deck. I mean, I see Dominaria commanders, I would say, almost every week. There are so many. So Coyle, tell us, rounding out the rest of these commanders, what do we have?
rounding out the rest of these commanders. So, I mean, overall, we're looking...
The command zone, yes.
Yeah, so overall in the command zone, there's the top 5 are at least 2 colors, or include 2 of the 3+ color commanders. So Daragaz is a dragon that actually got left out of here. It's the only 3-color legendary creature that wasn't one of the most popular. And Daragaz reincarnated is our Jund dragon for 4 black, red, green, 7/7 flying trample haste. If it would die, you exile it with 3 egg counters. At the beginning of your upkeep, you remove an egg counter, and then if it has no more egg counters on it, it comes back. Seems very, very slow for Commander, and there's so many other better options when it comes to Jund, even in Dragons, even when Dominaria came out. Since Dominaria, you've gotten so many more better Jund legendary creatures that we can have here, so it makes sense why this one didn't see a lot of play. But we also have 19 legendary creatures with 2+ color identity, 2 monocolored creatures with 2 color identity, like Khazarov is a mono black creature with a red activated ability. Jota, Eternal Archmage, is a 3-color commander with 5 color identity. 6 mono white commanders, 5 mono blue, 6 mono black, 3 mono red, 3 mono green, and of course 1 colorless with Traxos as
a partridge in a pear tree. That's Traxos.
That's
when you sing that to
oh 12. My goodness, he doesn't fit in a tree. Traxos is huge.
He's 18 pear trees.
18 pairs
that makes
of trees.
Traxos. What was that?
18 pairs of trees?
18 pairs of trees. So actually, actually it's 36 trees.
That makes sense. That
would make a Traxos. So there is a ton here for the command zone, but let's talk about what we see in the 99. Really good counterspell here. We've got Unwind. So it's a counterspell that untaps some lands. I like it a lot. It's similar to Rewind, but costs less.
Yeah, costs less and untaps 1 less land, but that's fine. We'll play them both.
Yeah. For 2 and a blue, it counter target non-creature spell, untap up to 3 lands. I'm a big fan of Noyan Dar. Okay, so I can cast a spell, untap a creature that I just animated. This is in 14,600 decks. About 5% of the decks it could be played in. Unwind, really popular card. Very good for the 99.
Yes. There's a ramp card that I actually really like from Dominaria called Grow from the Ashes. It's a 3-mana card that says search your library for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield, then shuffle your library. But it also has Kicker for an extra 2, and if the spell was kicked, you instead search your library for 2 basic land cards and put on the battlefield. Important to note that these particular cards don't come onto the battlefield tapped, so they come out untapped, which is very, very powerful. I don't think this card is seeing a lot of play. Or as much play as it should be, I should say. So it's played in 12,903 decks. But with a mono green card with potential kicker upside, and if you can use that untapped mana right away, it's arguably better than a Cultivate in some cases.
Absolutely. The next card here that we see quite often now is Helm of the Host. So it is a legendary artifact equipment for 4 colorless that says at the beginning of combat on your turn, create a token that's a copy of equipped creature, except the token isn't legendary. And if the equipped creature is legendary, and then that creature gains haste. So you can equip it to your commander, make a copy of your commander. It's non-legendary now. And it has haste. It has equip for 5, so it does cost 9 to do it right away. This is played in 24,000 decks, so it is very popular. It does go infinite with Godo Bandit Warlord, very popular CEDH deck. You can just put it in any commander deck because it just works with them all. And we did just recently talk about on our Commander Spellbook episode, Adrix and Nev Twin Casters goes almost infinite in just a few turns with the Helm of the Host. I have nothing but good things to say about Helm of the Host. The only downside is that it costs around $15 to $20 now.
Yeah, it definitely, it's only seen the one printing in Dominaria, a set that is highly sought after, and it's a little bit of an expensive booster box that you can get right now, but it works with anything. Like you said, it fits in any deck. Having 2 of your commanders is almost always beneficial. The only way I can think of it's not is if you do attach this to Phage, you will lose the game as soon as you move to combat. But that's about it.
Yeah. Okay. So for all you Phage players, We get it. All right. This is not you're not a fan of this one.
But we just saw so much token synergy in this last set with Strixhaven and constant reprints of cards like Doubling Season in Double Masters that you're going to love your token synergy here. So you don't have to attach it to your commander. You can attach it to any creature and get another copy of it. And if you have token synergy like the Quandrix Twins or any like Girid from the Naya Precon a year ago or 2 years ago, it's going to work out well for you either way.
Exactly.
So our next card I want to talk about is Blackblade Reforge. Blackblade Reforge is a very unique equipment. I think, Andy, you actually talked about it towards the beginning of the episode because it has this additional equip cost, or I guess alternate equip cost. So Blackblade Reforge is a 2 mana artifact, 2 generic mana that says equip creature gets +1/+1 for each land you control, and you can equip it to a legendary creature for 3, or just equip it to a creature for 7. So it's really, really strong in Voltron strategies because it only costs 3 to equip to your commander, or if you're not using your commander for the Voltron strategy, if you're using cards in the 99, it's going to hopefully be a legendary creature that you only have to pay 3 to attach it. The +1/+1 for each land you control is kind of a throwback to the original Blackblade legendary creature. Who
Dakkon Blackblade?
Yep, Dakkon Blackblade, who has power and toughness equal to the number of lands you control. So it was kind of cool to see that throwback to this particular equipment. I know I've run this equipment in pretty much every single Voltron deck that I've ever built. It's just so good to have such a big, and it doesn't, Strata Scythe and some of these other equipments care about a particular type of land. You have to graft a land or imprint a land under it, and it gets +1/+1 for each land of that type, or it gets +1 for each forest you control. This is just each land, and
I keep seeing it more and more often now, honestly, because with the printing of Arden Intrepid Archaeologist, which says at the beginning of combat on your turn, attach any number of ores and equipment to or that you control to target permanent or player. You can just equip this for free now. It only costs 2.
Yeah, no, it's really, really nice that it comes out that early. It is a legendary artifact, so you're not going to be able to sculpting steal it or anything. Make a copy of it. You are going to have legendary rule come out from that, but it's just, it gets you so far ahead. It'll get your commander so big, or any creature so big, especially when you can equip it for free with Arden or Brass Squire, any of the other ways that you can do free equips. Getting it out on the same turn that you're going to get out Sword of the Animist. If you have both of them in your hand, you're going to have to choose which one you want early, when really they pump each other. I mean, Sword of the Animist getting you an extra land is actually going to be a tiny bit of a combat trick in the when you're attacking. So it's
exactly.
nice.
And so the final card here that we wanted to talk about is a card that actually both Coyle and I love. And for the longest time, we had an issue finding this at our LGSs. And we have like 5 near us. This is an extremely popular card, I guess, at least in our area. So this is Final Parting, a sorcery for 3 black that says search your library for 2 cards, put 1 into your hand, the other into your graveyard, then shuffle your library. So you can tutor a card to your hand, and you're likely playing this in a deck that probably cares about something that's also in your graveyard. This, along with 2 additional mana, can, just go infinite with a World Gorger Dragon, animate dead. Not that I've ever done that, or I would ever do that degenerate thing to somebody that I know. But it's also great in decks like Cuss Dissident Mage. Coyle, tell us what you think about Final Parting.
Yeah, so Final Parting, when we were looking at it before, was probably like a $4 or $5 card. It looks like it's down to about $1.50, so it's much more affordable now. It's a fantastic budget card in order to put in some of these Reanimator decks. 4 mana is a Diabolic Tutor, which tutors a card to your hand. 1 mana is Entomb, that puts a card in your graveyard. This is 5 mana for both. So it's just as good as both of those cards put together. In fact, it takes up 1 less slot in your deck, so you could even argue that it's better than that. I know I always use this card in my zombie deck in order to grab Phyrexian Altar and Gravecrawler, throwing Gravecrawler in my graveyard, because sacrificing Gravecrawler for a black means I can cast it from my graveyard, and that goes infinite very quickly. The fact that you could set it up so easily like that with just 1 sorcery, I think is really crazy. It replaces itself and another card. In Kess Dissident Mage, you're going to be able to throw whatever card. You basically get 2 cards because Kess allows you to cast a card from your graveyard once per turn, only on your turn. But you find 2 cards, you cast one from your hand, you cast one from your graveyard. You're not stipulated by what kind of cards you can grab and put anywhere. You can grab permanents, instants, sorceries. I just think it's a very underplayed card and probably is being underplayed because it costs 5 mana, and 5 mana is a lot for people.
Yeah, it is. But honestly, the more and more games that I play, I see people getting to 5 mana ridiculously quickly now. I think it's just the nature of the beast right now, and I'm seeing a ton of mana real early. So this could do some crazy stuff real early in the game.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess it's not a CEDH card or anything like that. In CEDH at 5 mana, you're casting Ad Nauseam instead of. I mean, obviously Ad Nauseam slots in way better. You're going to be able to put 20 cards in your hand rather than 1 and 1. So we're not suggesting to play it, in a super high level like that. But in casual play, this thing's a bomb.
I think I would. I think I disagree. I actually play it in my CDH deck. So you can certainly play Ad Nauseam as well, but honestly, this does so much work. If you got the 5 mana, you might still want to do this just as a backup. If you're just playing a combo deck, that is.
Sure. Andy, if I may, I would like to talk about one more card, and talk a little bit about why it is kind of a weird card for what we're talking about. We've been talking about numbers, and there is a land that was printed in Dominaria called Cabal Stronghold. And by the numbers, this card looks like it's seeing play a bunch, but it's kind of, there's a caveat there. So Cabal Stronghold is a land that can tap for a colorless, or you can pay 3 generic into it, tap it, and add a black for each basic swamp you control. It's played in 17,530 decks. But that secondary ability is only good in mono black. So let's look at only mono black decks and let's see what kind of percentage that we get here. So of the top 5 mono black commanders, it's actually seeing play in at least 58% of them, which I think is just a crazy, crazy number. So the top 5 mono black decks, they're playing Urborg and Witch's Cottage as some of the other cards. So Yawgmoth has Urborg as its number 1, and Sir Conrad has Witch's Cottage as its number 1 utility land. But in all other cases, Cabal Stronghold is the number 1 utility land, even over Cabal Coffers, probably because of price differences. But I think it's just very interesting to see. People if they're looking at the numbers, they see Cabal Stronghold, it's a black card, only seeing played in 6%. But that's because it fits in every single commander deck that can play black. You're just never going to see it played unless it's being played in mono black. And personally, I hate this card, and let me tell you why. We've done 2 episodes on utility lands so far as part of this podcast, and I love my utility lands. And this Cabal Stronghold only counts basic swamps. So you can't put an Urborg on there and quote-unquote trick your card into thinking that they're all swamps the same way you can with a Cabal Coffers, which doesn't care if it's only half a swamp or something. As long as it has swamp in the type, Cabal Coffers is going to add mana for you. So Cabal Stronghold has to be played in somewhat of a more streamlined mana base. I won't say budget. It's going to end up being more budget, but it's more of a streamlined mana base of lots and lots of swamps.
Yeah, I mean, you still do get the benefit of it tapping for colorless. So there is that. But in most cases, it's never actually done anything for me. I run Cabal Stronghold in my mono black deck. When I was running Veto, I ran it. I don't think I ever had more than 4 basic swamps at a time. So at most, it made 1 additional mana for me. But it's not often. So I wouldn't say the card is bad per se, but I would definitely say it's not comparable to Cabal Coffer's Urborg, but that is 2 lands. And
yes, very expensive.
Not $5.
Yeah, no, I think Cabal Coffers and Urborg together, like the cheapest is probably $100 right now. 20 bucks for an Urborg and $80 for a Cabal Coffers is probably correct for the prices.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yes, it is. It is quite the interesting land here. I think that if you're playing a game that is going to go to turn 10 to 12, Cabal Stronghold, really great. But if you're producing that much mana, is the game going to go to turn 10 to 12? That's my question. I don't know.
That's a good question.
That's a great question. So, Coyle, now that we've gone through this, do we think that this set provided more for the command zone or the 99 after our discussion?
I think it's interesting to pose this question. I think there's a lot of cards we didn't go over that I would think are being played a lot, like Mox Amber and that kind of stuff. So I think from the analysis we did here, I would say that Dominaria did a lot more for the command zone than it did for the 99. But maybe if we did an even deeper dive, it might get a little bit closer in the numbers to which one it did more for. But from our analysis, I'm going to say Dominaria did more for the command zone.
I agree with you. I think this is significant. Well, I'll go one further. I do think it's significantly weighted towards the command zone. 44 legendary creatures is way more than we usually get. Now, I mean, in some cases, like even Ikoria, when we do that episode down the road, we saw there were quite a few obviously there as well, right?
For sure.
But I'm gonna say command zone. Yeah,
I think some of the legendary sorceries and stuff that care about the commander got to see a lot of play, and they're still seeing a lot of play in the 99. So that care about the commander that we got to see here. Everything seemed to care about historic or care about legendary here in the 99. But like Kethis, the Hidden Hand, probably is the best way to look at it, because that was being played with all of these legendary creatures and legendary permanents and stuff. And there really wasn't, I guess, much past your Mox Ambers and stuff when it comes to legendary permanents outside of your creatures. So I guess looking at it from that perspective, it would more solidify my opinion to the command zone.
Yeah. Well, that wraps up our show this week, and we want to thank you all for listening. If you want to contact us, you can find our podcast online at theguardianprojectpodcast.com. You can find our social media on Twitter at GuardianPod and our gameplay videos at youtube.com/theguardianproject. And if you want to email us, you can reach us at guardianprojectpod@gmail.com. You can find me on Twitter at ATFlurry.
And you can find me on Twitter at WormCoilEngine. And of course, we want to give a special thanks to our producer and editor, Ryan Nichols. Thank you so much. And we want to also give a special thanks to Chris Wolf, who handles all of our graphic design. Couldn't do it without you. Thank you so much. And I guess that's the conclusion of 101.
We will see you next week, everyone.
Bye-bye.